So let me share screen. Apologies in advance, I don't use Zoom quite so much.
We will be moving to MS Teams at some point in the future, Paul.
Yeah, okay. So I will just... Right, so everyone can see that? And everyone can hear me? Right, okay, so look, welcome to this presentation. The people to be talking to you tonight is myself. I'm Paul Pearson, and I'm a team leader in the Analytics and Insights section. It's the Courts and Tribunals area of the Ministry of Justice. And of course, the Ministry of Justice, we do a lot of things, but mostly we're about administering the operation of New Zealand's courts and tribunals. Work in the Sector Insights group, and this provides insights into the court performance and court and tribunal performance through data analysis and modelling. We'll have Simran perhaps later on at the end of the presentation, and I have a co-presenter, Kira, and maybe Kira, you can introduce yourself and then we'll kick on.
Hey, so I'm Kira. I did the ARG program 2 years ago as a summer intern with the Ministry of Business Innovation and Employment. And I'm currently also still studying at UC. So I'm doing my master's in stats.
Excellent, thank you, Kira. So what we'll cover today is we'll talk a little bit about what the program is about. We'll talk about the benefits to you in actually participating in the program. We'll provide an outline of the recruitment process, and we'll finish with opportunities at the end for you to ask questions of us. But first start, and if we don't have a technical fail here, we'll start with a short video about from interns reflecting on their experience previously. Now, Robin, chime in if you don't get any audio.
Okay.
I joined the ARG internship program because I wanted to experience work in government and was excited that my work could make a real difference to policy and people's outcomes. I worked on a comprehensive review of how the Ministry of Social Development was using the Household Labour Force Survey. This is a critical data product to labour market analysis.
I worked on a project related to the data dashboard futures at MBIE. So I was looking at a data explorer tool that took employment and workforce information from around New Zealand and delivers it in an interactive way to stakeholders.
The ARG internship program offered me the perfect intersection between utilising my hard skills in statistics as well as my own lived experiences as a Māori and my cultural insights of tikanga Māori. My primary project involved creating a framework for collecting data on Māori learners in different rohe or regions across New Zealand.
As a cross-government program, this opportunity is really about building data and research capability in the public sector. And to do that, we need the help of young, motivated students.
Yeah, our interns bring so much value and fresh perspectives to the projects they work on. They bring their passion and enthusiasm, and we end up learning as much from them as they do from us.
The ARG internship program gave me the affirmation that the work I was completing was contributing to a better, more equitable Aotearoa in New Zealand.
It made me realise I was limiting myself when it came to my previous career plans. I realised that there were more things within the government umbrella that I was able to apply for and had the skills for.
I absolutely think students should apply for the ARG internship. You owe it to yourself to get a taste of sort of everything that's out there early on. Also, Wellington's great for the summer.
Hang on a second, just missing a slide. Just 1 second, we're just having a technical fail about a slide. Oh, here we are. Right, I'm going to talk a little bit more around the program itself, and we'll just continue through with that. So the purpose of the program is for us in the public sector, of course, to develop more capability in data analytics, research and evaluation. But it's also an opportunity for you to gain some work experience working in the government, but also an opportunity to work in an area that really makes a difference to New Zealanders. And of course, an opportunity to launch a career in public sector data analytics or research. So in effect, it's really a direct pathway for those who really want to graduate and move into working in the public sector. At the moment, it's been mainly an internship program, although we've introduced a new initiative this year around a graduate program. So the internship program, which is a lot of what we're going to talk about today, is really a 12-week placement over the summer break. It's really designed for those who are likely to return to study, so who may be in your penultimate year of study. The graduate program is actually a 1-year placement, and the placement will start in February next year, and that's really for graduates who are intending to enter the workforce. So what kind of work would you be doing? Well, you'd be working in areas of high impact and relevance. That could be including vulnerable children and families, the environment, the economy, labour market. Could be working in education or social wellbeing. You could be part of our major statistical collections, or the justice system, if you're here at the Ministry of Justice, the welfare system, or the accident compensation system. The sort of work you would do would be around supporting operational day-to-day activities. So this could be research and analysis to underpin the monitoring and evaluation of initiatives and interventions that are already underway, but also sort of can contribute to policy formulation. So this again would be research and analysis to test and refine the ideas and thinking that are behind the creation of new initiatives and interventions. And participating in the program, you'd be asked to undertake a discrete project, although it's likely to be part of a wider program of work. I have a couple of examples here in the ACC. They're keen to see clients recover as quickly as possible. So this not only reduces costs to the taxpayer, but it also leads to better outcomes for their clients. So they've got some project work lined up that relates to modelling or analysis and data visualisation in that area. And here at the Ministry of Justice, we're keen to see the nation's courts and tribunals working as effectively as possible. Again, this is likely to lead to reduced costs, but just as importantly, it's about improving outcomes for all participants in the system, and that includes those who are accused and victims. And we have some project work lined up in relation to data development or analysis and modelling in that area. So we're now going to move on to about the benefits of the program itself. So I'm participating in the either the internship or the graduate program. You'll know that you're making a difference. You'll be contributing to meaningful and relevant public good outcomes, be able to apply your analytical and research skills in highly relevant and meaningful contexts. It'll be an opportunity to work independently while being fully supported by your mentors and colleagues. You'll be surrounded by people who are passionate about what they do and who also have a wealth of experience upon which you can draw. You'll enhance your employability, of course. You'll be participating in a comprehensive training and development program that's provided alongside the internship and graduate program. But you'll be also adding highly relevant experience to your CV. You'll be meeting potential future employers and building your professional network as you go. It's perhaps important to remember around half of the ARG interns return to work in the public sector once they've completed their studies. And finally, a career in the public sector is actually a pretty good bet. It's meaningful work, there's always a need, and the pay and conditions are pretty good. And Wellington, well, it's actually not a bad place to hang out over the summer. It's actually got quite a good art scene. It's got a good social scene. It's got, I think, an excellent outdoor scene. I'm really into mountain biking or getting out in the bush, and it's all can be easily done from Wellington. And it's also a compact city with a great public transport network. So you don't really need to have a car or anything like that. Right, I'm going to just jump back a bit. These are out of sequence here. I'm going to talk a little bit around where you might be placed. Okay, so in the internship program, there are 12 agencies this year with over 20 placements available. Now, we started back just over 5 years ago with only 4 agencies and 10 interns, so it's really grown. The size, where you might be placed will depend to a large degree to where your application, where an organisation will best fit your study, skills and experience. So when you make an application, you could well put in a preference, but ultimately it will be determined largely by where your skills and experience fit with whatever agency has a project that aligns to that. And it could be in one of these 12 organisations, which range from very large organisations like MB or Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, which actually has 4,000 staff across New Zealand and with a really large central office here in Wellington. But you could also land in a small organisation like the Social Wellbeing Agency, which is again located here in Wellington and is comprised of less than 50 staff. Alongside the actually doing the project work and working within the organisation, we've set up a reasonably comprehensive training and development program to sit with the internships themselves. This program will cover all the sort of foundation skills such as writing, presenting and project planning, but we also have specialist courses related to such things as problem solving, or even the technical specialist courses around algorithms and modelling, for example. It also includes an onboarding day. So this is really the first day in the internship, and that this is an opportunity to meet all the other interns, and it's largely a sort of a good fun way to start a job. And all of these courses or throughout this training program, you'll be learning as a cohort and sharing in that learning experience. You'll get excellent opportunities around to enable you to develop and extend your capability in Te Ao Māori. And what we've found over the years is that we talk to our interns at the end of each year, and we've found that the majority of interns report a really positive experience. And now, Kira, maybe I can sort of hand over to you now to talk a little about your experience, what you did, and what you got from it.
Thanks, Paul. So again, I'm Kira, and I did an internship with the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, which is MB for short, through the ARG program 2 years ago. So for a bit of context, I went into the internship having just finished a Bachelor of Science, and I'm currently doing my Masters in Statistics at UC. So pretty much as soon as I saw the internship advertised, I knew that I wanted to apply, as I was really keen to do an internship that was either in the public sector or data and research related. And obviously this program offers both. So I'm personally quite keen on working in government because I find it really important to know that any work I do is creating a positive impact. And in this internship project that affect New Zealand and its citizens, so I reckon that's incredibly fulfilling. From this internship, I also found that working in the public sector is also great for work-life balance. While my project was obviously challenging and it definitely had me stressed at times, I was always supported to be able to leave my work behind at work, and also encouraged to draw support from the social networks in the office. So for example, my department always tried to set 15 minutes aside each afternoon to do some of the daily newspaper quizzes as a team. And if you've ever done a stuff quiz, you know that's a great time. And it might seem silly, but it's really little things like that that really made me feel included in the work community. And the variety of projects offered in the internship program is huge. In my intern cohort, there were people from a range of backgrounds, ranging from computer science to biology to psychology and everything in between. My main project was also completely different to what I expected from an analytics and research internship, but I actually ended up really enjoying it. So within MB, I worked in a team that works to produce all of the statistics about New Zealand's energy sector. So for example, the total amount of electricity used, oil extracted, coal exports, and so on. So you might think that this kind of data is just provided by organizations, but there's actually a ton of work that goes into creating these final figures. My main internship project was to document and assess the current methodologies that my team uses to produce energy statistics, to see whether they're actually accurately capturing the current state of the energy sector and can also continue to do so as the sector changes to meet the government's sustainability goals. So I'd never done anything like this before. My experience of stats up until then had mainly been like data analysis, modeling and coding and stuff like that. But luckily I had an amazing mentor and also a bunch of co-workers who supported me to quickly pick up any new skills that I needed for the project. And my project was really collaborative, which was awesome. Obviously, I had to work with people in my team to get a better understanding of the work they do, as well as working with other teams within MB and other government agencies even to understand how the work that my team does interacts. So on top of that, the internship program also provides you with great opportunities for networking and development. So like I mentioned before, I worked with people from other agencies, and government workers are generally really interconnected, and sometimes like just having a mutual connection can form the basis for a long-term working relationship. I never felt isolated, and despite only being a summer intern, I felt like my voice was actually really appreciated within my team. Like we would never had to do silly stuff like grab coffees or print stuff out or like any other admin like that. And I also really love the opportunities to interact with other interns. So that's the workshops like Paul was describing before. And also most of the agency's offices are really close together in Wellington. So you can always catch up with people for a coffee or a lunch. So yeah, I definitely came out of the internship with a ton of connections, which I really hope that I can maintain throughout my career. So that was my little insight into the program. We'll be taking questions later, but also if you'd like to talk to me one-on-one, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or something like that. Thank you. I'll hand it back to Paul now.
Well, thank you, Kira. That was excellent. Look, I'd just like to reinforce your comment around doing meaningful work. I mean, that was certainly the case with all our interns, that we have pieces of work that really do need to be done and really would make a difference, and that is what we want them to work on. Right, I'll talk a little bit more around sort of the mechanics of applying now. So for the internship, it actually starts on 22nd of November this year, and it runs over a 12-week period. It's actually a 10-week paid period, as there'll be a 2-week shutdown over the Christmas break, and it finishes in February. So it's basically designed to sort of start shortly after exams finish and shortly before you go back to study. If you normally live outside of Wellington, then the majority of agencies will actually cover your costs for transport to and from Wellington. So how do you apply? Applications are open at the moment, but it looks like they're going to close in about 10 days' time. I think it's 15th, it's okay, it's a Sunday. So you still have that weekend if you want to do a last minute rush. If you're successful, so how it actually works is that for the internship, you complete a brief online application form. If you're successful through there, you'll be invited to provide a video interview. That's sort of an online video interview. And then there's another sort of selection process that happens there, and then you might make it sort of the final interview stage, and that's where you would talk directly with the agencies with whom you've been aligned, and they will put you through a interview process and make their final selection. So there's quite a bit of rigour in making this application. There's quite a lot expected from you. Now, I see this actually as a real benefit in itself, because whether you're ultimately successful or not, the recruitment process that you have to go through and the challenges you'll need to overcome through video interviews, etc., is really an excellent learning opportunity in itself. So I do encourage people to not be put off by that, but rather to, I think, engage and embrace it in regard to testing your skills and applying to positions. And now I'll just talk a little bit around the mechanics of applying for the graduate program. Again, the graduate program has all the benefits that we talked about before, and again, you'll be doing work in either research or data and analytics, but this time it goes on for a year. It's a year's placement. We've just only started it, so only 4 agencies are involved, but we've got about up to 8. It's at least 8 placement opportunities within those 4 agencies. There's a mix of work here that includes the topic areas that we've put up here, includes work related to more qualitative research, investigative techniques. So again, it's not all about data analysis or data wrangling, as it were. It too has a comprehensive training and development program. Similar to the internship, they'll be going through sort of foundation type learning, the sort of stuff that you would need to apply anywhere in the government, or actually anywhere in any working system. But then also particular specialist courses that either relate to project planning or data visualization, for example. We'll also, again, work with you on cultural competency and raising abilities and Te Ao Māori capability. But the other benefit about the graduate program is you'll be in place in that organisation for a year, which will provide you with access to all the organisation's own training opportunities, and they can be quite extensive in each of the organisations. Right, all the graduate placements are actually based in Wellington. In this case, if you live outside of Wellington, the organisation will cover the cost of your transport to and from Wellington. It starts as an initially similar application process to the internship. It's got a same closing date and around 10 days time. It starts with an online application form, but then you may also be asked to complete some psychometric testing. Then you may go through to being invited to submit a video interview. And then through that selection process, the final selection will actually be through an assessment centre. So all the potential candidates at that point will be flown down to Wellington to participate in a sort of largely a day's activities, which will include meeting each of the agency's reps, being interviewed, participating in group activities, and generally just having an experience in which you can, I think, talk more broadly around your skills and talk with each of the agencies more broadly around what they have to offer. Following that, a final selection of the successful candidates will be made. What sort of things, what does your background need to be? What do your skills and expertise need to be? So there's plenty of data analytical work. So having a degree on background and some of the sort of the more data and analytical degrees certainly would be a benefit to those projects that require that. But nevertheless, we also have research and evaluation projects that require expertise in more qualitative techniques. So again, don't be put off by the fact that there are plenty of messages around data analysis and the such. There's still plenty of opportunities for those who have qualitative skills and want to undertake some more research. Like in all of these things, when you're making applications, I mean, it's important, I think, to really convey your sense of motivation, showing that you have initiative, that you have strong communication skills, that you can apply attention to detail, and that you're well organised. For the data analytical ones, I mean, understanding some programming language, it's desirable in some cases, but it's not absolutely essential. And of course, I just want to stress that there'll be qualitative research programs, projects that don't require the full data analytical skills and expertise. So that's really the. So,
Hi, Paul. It's Simran here. I made it.
Simran.
I just wanted to add on that part that Paul just said around it not just being data and analytics projects and it being research projects. So I did the internship over the summer just gone. And I do not come from a data and analytics background. I did social sciences, but I did come from a research background. And so I just wanted to reiterate that, yes, there very much are research projects out there, and not to get put off, and to definitely just apply if you have some form of interest in data or research. And even if you are interested in data and don't have that much experience in the data itself, we really do look at people's motivations and willingness to learn as well. So, you know, if you show that willingness to learn, that's going to be great. And I now continue to work in this space, you know, after my internship, and I'm learning data things all the time when I had zero knowledge of it previously. So I just wanted to add that.
Excellent. Thank you, Simran. And look, it's also excellent timing too, because this is the point where I was hoping that you were around and I could now invite you to talk to us all about your experience as an intern, if you'd be happy to do so.
Fabulous. Yes, I can. Before you know, actually introduce myself. So hi everyone, I'm Simran. Sorry I was late. I had a netball game at 5. We lost, unfortunately, but we had fun. So I work at the Ministry of Social Development now, and my internship was at the Ministry of Social Development. There are about 5 of us who were stationed at MSD during this internship. But we also got to know everyone from all the different ministries that they were at, or agencies that they were at. You get a buddy, you get a mentor, you get people who will support you. It's really a fabulous opportunity to just see what working in the public sector is like, you know, test the waters, see if that's what you want to do. For me, you know, it really emphasized that it was what I wanted to do. For other people, they decided to go to a different path and go back to uni. It really is just a wonderful opportunity to just see what things are like and give it a go. The internship is, you know, a program over the summer, so it's fixed term, but answering one of the questions in the chat to know if people are recruited directly after the internship. So the graduate program is running for the first time next year, so it will go through its own application process, so you can apply for both the internship and the graduate program, and you may get one and not the other, but you should apply for both of them. If you're interested and you get placed for an internship in a ministry that isn't running one of the graduate programs, that doesn't necessarily mean there might not be a graduate position available. It just depends on the ministry and their timing, and if they have a position for you. You would likely to still have to go through the recruitment process. So I still had to go through the full recruitment process for the graduate position that I have. But you know, there is potential for it. And if you show that you're keen, show that you're committed, and that you're willing to stick around, all the managers and the whole team, you know, will keep an eye out for opportunities for you, I'm sure. No worries. I just wanted to emphasize the point that I said before around If you don't have all of the skills, but you have a motivation, you have a passion, and you have an interest and a willingness to learn, then you should definitely be applying. This program teaches you the soft skills and the hard skills. As Paul mentioned, there are a bunch of development and training workshops. You get support. Yeah, I really enjoyed the fact that coming from a social science degree and social science background, I really enjoyed the fact that I could apply, you know, I was in a data space, I wasn't doing a data thing, but that my experience, my knowledge and my value, my perspective was valued. And I think that's one thing that you'll really find is that everyone there, you know, there's such a wonderful culture, such a supportive culture. And same with, you know, the managers and the ministry that you're in, but also the cohort that you'll have across the program. Everyone's there to support each other. There tends to be about one social event a week that you guys can bond, engage in that whakawhanaungatanga, build those connections, and get to know about what's happening in other ministries. Say you get placed in a ministry that you didn't think you'd get placed at. I did environmental studies, but I didn't get placed at the Ministry for the Environment. I got placed at MSD. But I got to chat to the interns that were at, you know, the Ministry for the Environment, and I got to chat to all the interns at the other places, and kind of learn about their experiences, and you can connect that way and you can move sideways. Yeah, sorry, a lot of words just came at all of you. Yeah. Question in the chat. Do we need to have any prior experience in data or data tools to apply? No, you don't. It, you know, always helps, but you don't necessarily need to have that experience. We look at people as, you know, whole people and what, you know, what perspectives they can bring. We'll look at people quite holistically. Yeah, it helps, but it's not necessary and it shouldn't put you off from applying.
Simran, can I just ask, so coming from not necessarily that data background, what do you think made your application really stand out?
Good question. I think I've had a really strong motivation to work in the public sector. It's just kind of always what I've wanted to do, and I wanted to use this as an opportunity to test that and confirm that that was something that I wanted to do. So in your application, although, you know, you don't get asked to give a cover letter, which was one of my favorite things about this application process. So you don't have to write a cover letter, you just have to answer some questions. So, you know, if that was an off-putting factor, don't let it be. But really just conveying your passion, your motivation, and really, yeah, why you want to be a part of it, you know, convey your willingness to learn. And I think perhaps that's what made my application stand out. I'd done a bunch of research projects, and so I did get given a research project as my thing, but just kind of really in preparation for, say you get to the interview stage, the video interview stage, really think about what in my life have I done that conveys this value of this agency, or demonstrates this skill around leadership or communication, or, you know, a research skill. Really kind of bringing in those examples about what you've done and why you did it.
Fantastic, thank you very much.
Cool.
Paul, Kira, are you happy to open it up to the floor for questions now?
Yeah, certainly. We have actually reached the sort of question stage and we've moved into this. So we've got one here. Can you please tell whether there is a stipend aid for the internship? Someone's going to, do we mean do you get paid?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Yes. Right.
And
of course.
decently as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, my apologies if that wasn't clear in the presentation. I just assumed it would. I assume so. Yeah. So look, it's a 12-week period on the internship, and you are paid for 10 of those weeks, and it'll be at least at the living wage, which I understand is just under $23 an hour at the moment. other questions that have come up in the past in relation to are international students eligible? And yes, they are.
So who's going to answer this one? One just came through.
Right, yeah, I think most of them are. There might be something going on in Hamilton, if I understand correctly. Is it Hamilton? I don't know if anyone else knows. And yes, so, but mostly they are in Wellington because mostly that's where the functions of the analytical functions sit within those government departments.
So Paul, that'll be the same for the graduate program, obviously.
Yeah, at the moment, all the graduate programs, because it's only the 4 agencies, are all located in Wellington. Again, what we're finding is that as the program expands, the opportunity to do the placements in other centres starts to arise, but only in the really big organisations that actually have analytical capability that sits outside of Wellington.
I did have, sorry, a question from a student who wasn't able to come along tonight. They're in their third year last semester and were wondering whether to apply for the internship or the grad program. But from what you were saying, Simran, they could apply for both?
Yeah, so I applied after I'd already finished university. By the time the applications for this had come through, I finished halfway through last year. I would definitely recommend applying for both. Yeah, you can apply for both. We've just had a question in the chat. There was a graduate role advertised at Stats a while back. Yes, that would be different to the graduate program. And there aren't currently any internships in Christchurch, but I've got to put a plug in for Wellington. Wellington is a fabulous city, especially in the summer. It's a very good time being in Wellington over the summer. The wind tends to behave itself, or at least it did last summer. And there's so much to do. If you're not from Wellington, you know, it's a wonderful summer of exploring the town.
Yeah, and I'm not from Wellington. I'd never lived there before and I had no trouble finding accommodation. So that's not something that you'd have to worry about.
There are many flats going, especially for subletting over summer. So questions been asked around transport. So for the internship program, most agencies will fly you in for the start of your internship and fly you back for the end of your internship. I say most, just in case there's maybe one or two that won't. But in terms of your transport and living and stuff while you're in Wellington, you need to suss that one out yourself.
Right, we got a message. We got a question here from Samuel. I'm just working through it now. So I'm not sure what you're asking, Samuel. Are you asking for access to data, or is there opportunities to work in that area? I mean, certainly there'll be agencies here that will be collecting data that relates to those areas. If that's what your question is. And there'll be opportunities, of course, to work in those areas, I'm sure, with some of the agencies that are participating in the program.
Daniel also put a question through around housing over summer. So there are many Facebook pages, Vic Deals, Flatmates Wanted, all that kind of stuff, and Trade Me, where housing and subletting opportunities get posted. But also, so there's the Victoria University of Wellington, obviously located in Wellington, and they have some halls of residences or flatting type halls where you can just request accommodation for the summer. So, you know, if entering the housing market in Wellington seems daunting, which is understandable, there's also halls such as Everton Hall or Stafford House that have accommodation options for just the summer as well.
Okay, Ewan, you've asked about what is the layout of the assessment centre. So the process there is essentially it's going to be a mixture of group activity. We're still working through the actual program, and I'll give you what my understanding of it is, having talked with other members of the working group. So the proposal is to have a set of group activities and where the potential candidates will work together, probably on a problem. And then also, and that might be in a sort of a large space, and we'll have a space organised in one of the organisations, and then there may be smaller rooms in which interviews are actually undertaken, and there might be, we need to work out how that's done. It might be sort of a rotational thing with the different organisations, and then there'll be opportunities for the potential candidates to actually talk to each of the employing agencies and the potential managers. So there's a bit of to and fro going there, and that's the whole idea of that whole assessment centre.
Does anyone else have any questions at this time? You are welcome to send them through to me if you think of something later, and I can forward them on your behalf.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is Michael, data science student, University of Canterbury, master student. I just have a question. Can I know the timeline of your process? I mean, I have already applied some 15 days back for this.
Yeah, so for the application process, so that's underway. It's underway at the moment, but it closes on the 15th of August.
So when will you hear first from you? I mean, the first, I mean, that we are selected for the video interview or something.
Oh, I see. So how long does that actually take from there? Yeah, so yeah, we're looking at that today. We'd be expecting around the middle of, you'd be knowing around the middle of September, well, early September if you're sort of not in, but as you go through the process, it'll be right through to really the end of September, you'll know for sure whether you've made it or not.
Yeah, thank you very much.
As per the slides, so we're hoping to do the in-person interviews early September. So I would assume from that end of August-ish time to find out if you've got past the first phase.
Yes, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, good. Grace has just asked a question if there would potentially be future internships in Christchurch. Paul, do you have any? Yeah,
again, that comes down to really whether the organisation's big enough and actually has some kind of data analytical capability down in Christchurch. One of the things that we talked about in relation to this was, though there's some real benefits around having the internship placements around the country, the real downside to that is that it's hard to run the internship cohort. So what that, and again, maybe Simran and Kira can comment on this, one of the real benefits about everybody working in Wellington is the cohort itself of interns can actually work together and I think form those sort of that network and bonds together, and that is I think an essential element, I think, not just the enjoyment of the program, but also I think learning how to network and I think develop those skills in relation to networking and building that capability, I think, to be more, increase your employability. So there's always a downside of having interns outside that sort of main cohort, because there's a tendency towards, we have to sort of manage the risk around them just feeling isolated and apart from the rest of the group.
Any other questions, anyone?
Something's just from the chat.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, something's come in around how many internships available. We're looking at over 20 placements this year. So each organisation sort of nominates how many interns they're likely to take, and that's totaling up to just over 20 across those 12 organisations.
Okay. Well, look, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to Paul, Kira and Simran. Lovely to have you with us tonight. For our students, if you're needing any support around getting your applications together, including your CVs, please do make use of the UC Careers Service. We run a CV drop-in every Tuesday and Thursday between 10 and 12. So you're very welcome to come in or make a time to meet with one of our consultants. But look, fantastic presentation from all of you. Thank you. Some really helpful information and insights. And thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy days and making yourselves available to meet with our students.
Kia ora, you're welcome.
Thanks for hosting us, Robin.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.